Desert. And it's actually on the southern part of the desert. And Kalahari, for a start, is a Tswana word that means great thirst. That's the place where there is very little water, and that's why it was named like that. And the word Tswalu itself means new beginning, and you'll understand why that's significant once I tell you the story of that incredible place. So a little bit of geography here. This is, you can see South Africa. Cape Town is on the bottom left, Kimberley in the middle, and Johannesburg on the top right. And usually when people go on a safari, they go in what is called the Lowveld, which is the area north and the Limpopo area and the northwest near the Botswana border. And the vegetation you find there is very, very different from what I'm going to show you here. And you can see where Tswalu, this game reserve, is here in this little square. It's just south of the Botswana border. The Namibia is on the west here, and it's in the province of the Northern Cape. So it's quite away from anything. There isn't a lot around. The reserve was, in fact, is owned by the Oppenheimer family. Sorry, my computer just decided to collapse. By the Oppenheimer family, which is a very well-established family in South Africa. They are the founders of Anglo-American, and they always have put their success to the service of the community. And in this case, Nikki Oppenheimer decided to purchase the land that had been put together. It used to be farmland, and all the farms had been slowly acquired by a gentleman who had decided to recreate the natural environment. The land had been damaged by all the farming, and he had slowly bought out the farms and the lands and taken down the fences and the buildings and reintegrated the wildlife. And when he died, his executor had as instructions to connect with Nikki Oppenheimer and see if Mr. Oppenheimer would buy the property and finish the work of bringing it back to its wild origins. And Mr. Oppenheimer did that, and then he bought more and more land. And since 1999, they have been really bringing back the wildlife, the fauna, the flora, the whole environment. They actually have a foundation, and they do a lot of research. They finance research projects. It's 160,000 hectares of land. It's the biggest private reserve in South Africa. And it only has 2 lodges on it. One which used to be the private home of the Oppenheimer family. They since relocated somewhere else on the reserve, and the other one which is a lodge which is like a hotel where guests can stay. So there's very little foot traffic, if you want, in that giant area. So in terms of the geography, you can see on this photo that you have mountains and dunes, sands on the front, you can see, and mountains at the back. And these mountains are called the Koranenberg Mountains, and they operate almost like a catchment area. So the reserve is located not in the arid Kalahari, which is at the north of it, but in a relatively an area that receives more rain than in the Kalahari and before the savanna. So it's in between two geographic locations, and that's why you can see the grass here, and you can see some low trees and low shrubs. And in fact, when we went, they had more rain than usual, and you'll see in the photos that there is a lot of grass, which presented a bit of a challenge in terms of animal sighting, but it was quite remarkable. We had never seen this kind of vegetation, and I'm very privileged that I have done about 8 safaris in different areas in Botswana and South Africa, and this was very different from anything we saw. So you can see that the earth is, the sand is red actually. There's these big sand dunes here, and the sand is red because there's a lot of iron in the sand. It's also an area that was underwater in prehistoric times, so there's a lot of sediment, and it's very red. It's really very red. It's quite remarkable. You can see here all this vegetation. You have this tree here was several hundred years old, and it's just an example of many. The Kalahari is also the ancestral home of the San people, and Tswalu has areas where you can see this, the drawings of the San people. Here you have an eland that is depicted. This is thousands of years old. They protect it, obviously, and they're very, very cognizant of the fact that you cannot walk on it. You have to be very respectful. It's sacred land. So it was really very heartwarming to see how much care and the role of steward of the environment, of the history of the place is promoted and throughout everybody who works at the place. So you fly into the reserve on normally it's a bush plane. That was a little jet. It was quite special to do that. Most of these game reserves you fly in because there are no roads to go to, or it's a long way from anything, and then you climb onto your Range Rover here, and you can see that it's all open top. When it's more in the summer, they put the top on. We had an open top, and that's how you're going to spend most of your time in that vehicle for the duration of your stay. How many of you have done a safari before? I don't know if anybody has. You can put it in the chat box because I can't quite see you right now. So this was the lodge where we were staying, Tarquini. This photo I didn't take this photo, obviously. I took it from the website, but I wanted to show you the vegetation, how, there's nothing around, but there was a sand dune behind us, a giant sand dune. The house has a thatch roof, and here, if you can see my arrow, there's a water hole, and a lot of these lodges, the lodges always have, wherever you go, they have water holes not far from the lodge, because when you sit there early morning, during the day, anytime, you'll have animals coming. And in fact, if you didn't want to go onto a drive, you could be sitting at the lodge all day and have the most extraordinary animal show, because throughout the day, you have animals coming, and the animals actually will also come onto the, close to the house. So you have to always be a little bit on alert. One of the chef was telling us that 3 weeks before we were there, he was busy cooking at the barbecue on the terrace, and he turned around and there was a leopard standing there looking at him about 20 feet away. But eventually the leopard left and nothing happens, but it's obviously you have to be a little bit careful. But the staff know about it, and there's always somewhere around, and they know how to handle these things. So you never really feel in danger, but you're very close to nature, that's for sure. A little look around the lodge. What I loved about this lodge, and it's often the case, but this one was particularly careful about that, was that everything in the lodge was from South African artists and makers. And everything, I always talk about the people, place, process, which is one for me of the trilogy of craft, where you have the people of the place using a process of the place with the material of the place. And Tswalu is certainly that. They employ local people, they train them, they use the material of the place, they represent or they buy from local artists, local makers, local companies. And they really protect the place. So that felt really good. I did, while I was there, I did a live tour of the lodge, just to show you the craft in the lodge. And for the club members, I think that I have put it on the Clubhouse, or maybe it is on the, I think it's on the Clubhouse, might be on Instagram, I'm not quite sure. But if you're interested, I'll send you the video. So because you are in Africa, you live outdoors, and this lodge had several locations, and you can see again the stones of the place, the wood of the place, and actually the leopard was standing right at the end there, not bugging anybody, just intently watching the chef cooking the meat. So maybe he had some ideas. The rooms were obviously very comfortable and beautiful. There were some mosquito nets. There's no malaria in Tswalu, but obviously in summer in particular, you probably want to have your mosquito net down. We didn't have any bugs or anything like that. What surprised me though was that the windows didn't have screens, so you couldn't sleep with the windows open, which I find personally, and we had to put the aircon on or the fan on. It's the first time I see that in a game reserve, because it's so nice to sleep with the windows open and to hear the bush and the life of the bush. And the screen will protect you from the animals. I mean, no leopard is going to go through a screen to come to you. So I was a little bit surprised by that, but it was very comfortable nonetheless. So what does your day look like? You get up at about 5:30. There's a question. Let me just check the question here. Did we see any spiders? Yes, there are spiders, and big ones, small ones. But you are in wildlife in nature reserve, so you can expect that. But I have to tell you that the staff at the lodges is so careful, and these lodges, whether you go to a super duper luxury one or to a more simple one, they always check everything. So, but it is true, I always tell people, I say, shake your shoes before you put your foot in, and at night just open your bed wide open. You just never know, but we've never had any surprises. So the day starts early in the morning. You get up at about 5:30, depends what time of year you are. You have a quick little cup of tea and maybe a rusk or something, and you get onto your vehicle. You see sitting at the front is your tracker, and then your ranger will be driving. And you do 2 drives a day, usually first thing in the morning and last thing in the afternoon, because that's when it's cooler. So first, you're not, you're not cooking in your vehicle, and second, the animals are out because it's not so hot. And this herd of buffalo was about 150 meters. We hadn't driven for more than 45 seconds when we come across them. And you see that you're very close to the animals. So I thought I would share with you some fun facts. Maybe you've heard about the big 5, and that's the lion, the leopard, the rhino, the elephant, and the buffalo. So Tswalu does not have elephants, it does not have hippopotamus, and it doesn't have crocodiles because there's no water there. There's no big expanse of water. And then you have, maybe you haven't heard about that, but the small 5, the elephant shrew, the ant lion, the rhino beetle, the buffalo weaver, and the leopard tortoise. And they're quite difficult to see. We saw the elephant shrew and we saw the buffalo weaver, but we didn't see the others. And then you have the elusive 5, which Tswalu is known to have. It's one of the few places that has them. There's the pangolin, the brown hyena, the aardvark, the aardwolf, and the bat-eared fox, and they are all nocturnal. We were very lucky to see an aardvark and a bat-eared fox, but we didn't see the others, and that wasn't for lack of looking, I can tell you that. So your drive in the morning is going to go for about 3-4 hours. It depends how much you see, it depends how hot it is, it depends how much you want to do. And your ranger and your tracker will have prepared things because they want to show you things. So they'll have a bit of recognition, they'll have spoken to other guides, and they will take you, they track the animals just by looking at the tracks on the road, and they'll tell you, but you just never know really what you're going to come across. As in this case, we just bumped into these enormous buffaloes that were, they kept us there for about 10 minutes. There was no way we were going to push them around, and it was fine. It's just so amazing to stay there and observe. So those guys were a nice surprise to start the day. And then around the corner, we came across a whole group of giraffes. And when they stand like that, just in a group, they are called a tower of giraffes. So these guys were just busy having breakfast. Look at the sky and look at the light. I want to tell you that all these images I took with my iPhone. There's no way that you were not going to take a good photo. I see there's another question. How do bathroom breaks work? Well, you will have you just go behind the bush is the answer. Your tracker will take you to a place, we do stop for breakfast in the morning and for drinks in the evening in the middle of your drive. And they usually choose an area that they know doesn't have predators, a very wide open area so you can see if any animal is coming towards you, and you just go behind the bush, and that's what happens. The dung beetle is one of your favorite animals. Yes, it is. It's a remarkable animal, and we saw quite a few of those. So here, from a little closer, here are these giraffes. These are young males, and you can see that their horns are quite young, and they still have the little fur at the top, and they were just there, minding their own business. They're very cute. This is quite a rare sighting. It's called a sable antelope. And Tswalu is one of the places that that has it. They have this black coat and that straight mane. They're quite remarkable animals. Their horns are very sharp, and they will rub their horns against these shrubs that you see here. The shrubs have oil on it, and it oils the horns. These guys will, they'll defend themselves. And the horns can be little, but isn't he majestic and fabulous? This is called a Gemsbok or an oryx, again, another kind of antelope. These guys will defend themselves against lion and will be able to kill lions because their horns, again, are very, very powerful. They are quite shy. We were a little lucky to see them in that context. Black desert rhino. So this is a very rare sighting. They are extremely endangered. All rhinos are endangered, and in fact, I had posted this photo on my Facebook page. And my brother-in-law immediately texted me and said, please take it down because poachers will be able to geolocate this rhino from your photo on Facebook and will go and try to kill the rhino for its horn. Now, Tswalu has an amazing anti-poacher program. In fact, they employed retired SAS people, spies and spooks and mercenaries and people like that. And we saw them, they have helicopters, and we saw them patrolling several times. So I don't think that there's an issue with poaching on the reserve, but you just never know. So that was an eye-opening comment, actually. This is an animal called a roan, and that was very rare. So my husband, who's done a lot of safaris because he's South African and he grew up there, was very excited. And I have to say that the difference of color on the face in the hair is to help them sweat, and also to deflect the light when they look out into the horizon, and when they, to try to spot danger. So all the animals, we were told, if you look at their face and how the hair is organized on the face, and you'll see it on the cheetah and other animals, it always has something to do, it's always functional. It's not just decorative. And it has something to do with being able to sweat, regulate the temperature, and also to deflect the light. You see, this is the same animal, the roan, and this is a really big, it's a big beast. But it was just there minding its own business again. So then comes lunchtime. So you might be going back to the lodge, or you might be surprised and the crew has brought the meal, the picnic. This is some kind of picnic, I can tell you. You are in the middle of wildlife, and they have set up the table for you and they're waiting for you. It's just, it's really it's like being treated like a princess, And this was our chef, Mitch, who was an extraordinary chef. He's 24 years old. He's self-taught. And we ate every day, whether he prepared on the barbecue or the breakfast in the morning or the drinks that he packed for us. It was like haute cuisine. I have never seen anything like that. And one day, he knew we were Canadians, and so he went to do some research about Canadian food, and somehow he came across the beaver tail. So he did some research, and there is a sweet in South Africa called Cook Sister, and it's a fried dough that is twisted and then dipped into syrup. And he thought, it's not unlike the beaver tail, and the beaver is an animal, and we are in the bush. So he created a kind of a little pastry. They were little like droplets, and he said these are just our local beaver tail. Use the same pastry and the same way of cooking beaver tails, but he made them round like that to echo the little drops that the antelopes leave in the savannah. He was just so sweet, so caring. And then in the afternoon, in between your drives, you can just decide to have a nap, or we decided one day to go for a horse ride. You can go for a walk with your ranger, which the ranger, when you are on foot, the ranger will be armed. When you're on horses, I was surprised that nobody had a rifle, but a gun, but we felt very safe. And what was extraordinary is that the ride was about an hour and a half, and at the end of it, we met up with the Land Rover, the rest of the team, and they took off all the harness and the saddles and everything from the horses, and the horses ran back to the stable through the savannah. So they could have come across these cheetahs, but that's the way they do it. It was an extraordinary sight to see these wild horses kind of running back home. These are cheetahs, and we were very lucky. We saw a group of 5 of them. They were hunting, and we were able to follow them for about an hour and a half. They tried to get to an impala, but I was very pleased to see that the impala was running faster than them and escaped it. But they are majestic and extraordinary. So we didn't see leopards. The leopards in Tswalu are quite elusive. We saw leopards 2 years ago. I was in Botswana, and we saw some magnificent beasts. So you might know the difference between the leopard and the cheetah is that the cheetah has the spots are full dots, where the leopard has the rosette. The cheetah has the black tear mark on their face, and the cheetah is a slender animal. It's built for speed. It's got a very big chest and lower, very powerful hind legs. It's the fastest animal, and it can run to 123 km per hour, where the leopard is built for tracking and surprising its prey, and it's extremely powerful, a leopard. It can bring its prey, a whole antelope, up a tree to protect it. So they're quite different animal. Did we see any babies? Yes, we saw lots of babies. And we saw baby zebras and giraffes and all that. So we did. And yes, when you come across something being killed, the car stops so you can watch the cycle of life. So it's extremely rare to see a full kill. What you might see is, if you're lucky, you might see, as we did with the cheetahs, that they track and they on the look. You might see once they've killed it and they are eating it, but to see the full action from beginning to end is extremely rare. It also takes skills for the driver to be able to follow the animals, because when they go and they chase the prey runs as fast as it can, and it's difficult to follow them. But yes, we saw a kill years ago from a leopard, and that was something. I can't say that I enjoyed it, but it was quite amazing to watch. This is a zebra, as you can see, but it's a Harman's zebra, and it's different from the regular zebra, and it's endangered. It has different stripes and it's slightly different size, but it's endangered, and we were very lucky. Those are rare sighting. I had never seen one, so that was it was interesting to see. And here are lions, and I wanted to show you this photo to show you how able they are to hide in this tall grass. We actually came across them. We were looking for them, and all of a sudden we just almost drove over them because we absolutely couldn't see them. So you can imagine, you see she's on the hunt here, and look on the left, you can barely see her. There were 5 of them, and they were clearly they were hungry, and they were clearly looking for something. There were 2. We were at the foot of a big dune, 2 in the dune there, 3 in the plains. At some point, there was a little impala that started coming towards them, and then decided to change course, thank goodness. So that was quite exciting. And then you have the big guys. So this is a black-maned lion, which you don't find very often. They have them at Tswalu. And this guy, he wasn't going anywhere. He probably had just eaten and he was having a nap, but he was right under a thicket and we almost missed him. You can see here, then he saw us and he kind of looked up, not too interested. And then he gave us a bit of a show. Yeah, no, we watched him for about 10 minutes and he wasn't going to do anything for us, but he was very comfortable there. And that shows also, without the tracker, the rangers and the trackers have the most extraordinary eyesight. They know where to look, but they can read the colors in the savannah, and they can pick an animal where you would see absolutely nothing. Without them, there's no way you can get as good a day as you would. So this guy was very happy. This is a kudu, and we found actually this is a ranger, Mora, and we found these horns. So you can see how extraordinary big they are, and this animal is beautiful. Beautiful animal. These are weavers' birds, and I want to show you both of these photos. In one of the huts at the airport, they had built their nests inside the hut. Thank goodness it was just a place where people put their bags and all that. And on the left, you can see the size of these nests. They are colonies of weavers, and they take over entire trees. And they're very clever because there's in fact 2 entrances to each nest. The one that you see, and then there's a secret pouch in the nest, and that is to protect the eggs from the snakes. You have a lot of the cobras go in and other snakes, and when they go in and they don't see the secret chamber where the eggs are, they leave without eating the eggs. So it's really an engineering genius. Nature is often like that. So at the end of the day, you start your second drive at about 4 o'clock and you go until nighttime, but you need little sustenance. So your team will have, again, surprise you. Often you just take your drinks with you and you stop somewhere. But in this case, they surprised us with a mobile bar on the top of a sand dune, and this was our view. And there is nothing more extraordinary you know, then this is just, I don't know, for me, it was like, again, another princess moment. We waited until the sun went down. It was just extraordinary. You can see the mountains in the background. You can hear all the animals, and it's really special, special moment. And you come home. It's dark. Usually you come at night. They will have a fire for you, and we were treated one night to an outdoor dinner, and they have areas enclosed with the fire, and they are called BOMAs, B-O-M-A, and in fact, it's an acronym for British Officer Mess Area, and this is where, you know, when the Brits and the colonial era, they would have this sitting area where they would have walls to stop the animals from coming, a good fire, and sit there and shoot the breeze with a good drink in hand. And that was an animal owl we saw. It was quite extraordinary. So that's the end of your day. I mean, you've had 2 game drives, you've had fabulous food, you saw incredible nature, and you come home for, you know, for your night and start the next day. Tswalu has on its property a restaurant called Klein Jan. The chef is Jan Hendricks van der Vestesen. He's from the Kalahari, and decided, he has a restaurant in Nice in France, but he also has this restaurant. And I'm not going to share every detail with you, because if you ever go, I don't want to spoil it for you. But what I can tell you is that it was the most extraordinary culinary experience I have ever had. And what really spoke to me, I'm not a foodie, so you know, I mean, I like good food, obviously, but I wouldn't travel for a special meal or anything like that. But in this case, it was an homage to the area. Everything that we experienced, all our senses were solicited, and everything was about the place where we were, whether it was the food, the utensils, the traditions, the location, everything was about the Kalahari. And I thought that was really quite remarkable. So this is a little farmhouse. It's a 1-room farmhouse that was built in 1918. And when you arrive, you wash your hands. And if you look on the left here, these little napkins, the tie around them is a piece of grass from the Kalahari. And they ask you to put it in your hand. They pour the water on your hand, as you see here. And when you rub your hands with the herb in it, it turns into soap. So it's a grass that has cleaning properties and feels like soap. So it's this, throughout the evening, these little details were introduced in your experience, always reminding you where you were and the culture you were experiencing. You can see on the table, we had drinks on these tables here. And I don't know if you can see, there's a decanter here with some plants in it. And we thought it was a vase with water. You can see it here too. And as we sat down, the waitress grabbed the decanter, pulled out the flowers, poured the water in our glass and said, "This is your first drink." And we thought, okay, we were a little surprised, but in fact, the plants that were in the vase were from the Karoo, and they had created, from the Kalahari, they had created an infusion. They were not just regular flowers and plants. There was a knowledge of the plant and what it was. By the time you finish your drinks, it's dusk, and You are then invited to go into the main room. It's a one room. So you wonder where you are, you give a little history of the place, and they say, okay, well, let's go now to the restaurant. They take you through this door. I don't know if you can see this door at the back. So you're a little surprised because when you go through the door, this is what you see. There's no table, there's no restaurant. There's a windmill that feeds water into that water tank. And there's this slide with the door. You just wonder what it is. And there's a surprise in it that I won't describe the whole thing for you, not to spoil it. But you eventually arrive at this underground cellar, which is where the chef keeps all the products that he uses to make your meal. And I have never seen anything like that. And everything, absolutely everything is local, from local farms that specialize, you know, and you think that because you are in the semi-desert, in the savannah, nothing is going to grow, but not at all. But those are very, very small farms, very specialized. And the chef prepared the most incredible meal for us. Then you go through the room of the 1,000 delights. And this is just one little part of it. Again, I don't want to spoil it too much for you. And your table, to show you the level of exquisiteness, I want to say, these little clouds here, this is your napkin in the finest linen. The glasses are Baccarat crystal. And this bouquet on your table is in fact your breadsticks. If you look carefully among the grass of the savannah, you can see the breadsticks that are the finest, lightest little breadsticks are just put in there. It was just every detail brought you back to the land, to the place, to the people. It was extraordinary. And this is one side of the room where you could go and sit after your meal. Look at this chandelier. It's all the grass of the savannah that has been carefully harvested and tied, and the light is in the middle. This is huge. The ceiling must be about, I would say, 20 feet high. And the only thing I will tell you is that you are under a dune. So the whole place is located under a dune. And this window that you see here on the left, you can't see through because it's nighttime, but opens onto